let's start with Tim Cook. We know he has a pay package that vests fully in 2021, but there's no signs that Tim Cook is going anywhere. How long do we expect him to stay?
He's 57 years old, and he seems like Apple is everything he cares about. He's mentioned it many times that some people have said that Apple is his entire life. He runs the ship, even though it's not a one-man shop, so I could see him being there for the next, decade plus, right? He's only 57 years old. Public company CEOs typically retire around retirement age of 70, but some go longer, some go shorter. Apple obviously has always been a unique company in that respect, so it's really up in the air.
So who are the other faces of Apple that we need to know? Who could potentially be next in line?
That's a good question. So to step back, basically at the top of Apple, there's three organizational rows. There's Tim Cook on top, along with the board of directors, which he reports to. And then he has a group of about 10 senior vice presidents. That includes, Phil Schiller, Jonathan Ive, their general counsel, Kate Adams, Angela Ahrendts, the head of retail. But the two people to focus on that top shelf are really Phil Schiller, who's the head of marketing, who really was symbiotic with Steve Jobs in returning Apple to the company that we know it is today, as well as Jeff Williams, the chief operating officer. So if anything were to happen in the imminent future, it would likely go to one of those two. But below that row of senior VPs are dozens of vice presidents that report to those people.
Jeff Williams, of course, the COO, just as Tim Cook was the COO who took over for Steve Jobs. Talk to us about the female executives on the bench.
Yeah, that's a good question. So Angela Ahrendts, the head of retail, she was the CEO of Burberry through the beginning of 2014 before joining Apple. She has a very high profile. Some people have considered her a potential eventual successor to Tim Cook, given her previous public company CEO experience. There's Kate Adams, who is their new general counsel as of last year, so handling all legal duties. Obviously, we've seen the situation with Samsung in recent months, so she's been at the forefront of that. Isabel G. Mahi, she runs China operations for Apple. There's a few marketing executives such as Susan Prescott, who are very high level on the services side. Jennifer Bailey, she runs Apple Pay. So lots of very important women at Apple at the top.
Meantime, of course, and I have this chart in my GTV library showing the progress of Apple's market cap, of course, crossing that $1 trillion mark, which is a huge milestone and a huge accomplishment for Tim Cook himself. He has said that passing the baton is important and that they talk about succession. What do we know about those discussions, assuming that even if it's not going to happen imminently, that they do discuss what would happen years from now?
Right, so we have a pretty good idea that they have a plan what would happen tomorrow if, Tim Cook stepped off the wrong curb. They have a plan if he needed to step down in the immediate future, but I'm sure they also have a 5, 10, and 15-year plan for CEO succession. Remember, this is the biggest company in the world. There's no excuses for them not to have a succession plan. They plan everything in such fine-grained detail, from, the pieces of paper they put in the Apple Store to indicate the prices to what goes deep in their devices. So it's not hard to believe that they think the same way for succession planning, especially in the CEO role.